Welcome to Hey, it's Carly Rae's Book Club. This is Book Hour, where authors will talk their latest novels, reveal their writing process, and play some fun book games. I'm your host, Carly Rae. Today, we have New York Times bestselling author Karen McManus. We're going to be talking about her latest page-turner novel, The Cousins, what made her decide to write a novel where families keep the best secrets, even from each other, if she'll always write novels from multiple characters' perspectives, and if she'll always stick to writing YA mystery novels that keep the reader guessing. Plus, we're going to see if Karen won the lottery, what she would not change. We'll dive in right after this. Hello, Karen. Tell us where you're joining us from.
Hi, Carly Rae. I am joining you from Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Well, I'm so excited to have you on Book Hour. For those that don't know, Karen McManus, she is the author of One of Us is Lying, One of Us is Next, and Two Can Keep a Secret, all of which have been on the New York Times bestsellers list. Her latest novel, The Cousins, pictured here, comes out December 1st and is a little different because this one centers around a family harboring a dark, decades-old secret. Karen, tell viewers more about The Cousins.
Sure, yes. So this is my fourth book, and it is about three cousins, not surprisingly, hence the title. Their names are Millie, Aubrey, and Jonah, and they don't know one another very well. Their family's very estranged because their parents were all disinherited by their mother 24 years ago with a single sentence letter that said, "You know what you did." And they've not been able to get back in touch with her since then. So the cousins have never met her. And then out of the blue, they get an invitation to spend the summer at her exclusive island resort. The parents are very thrilled. They're hoping this means they may be able to get back into their mother's good graces. The cousins are a bit uncertain, but they're curious, and also not going is not an option as far as their parents are concerned. So they head for the island where their grandmother lives, which is called Gull Cove Island. And almost as soon as they arrive, things are not what they expected, and they begin to unravel some very dark secrets about their family.
Now, in your interview in 2019 with BookPage, you said, "I'm fascinated by places that look perfect on the surface, but have this darkness underneath, and about the ripple effect that darkness can cause. The Cousins in Gull Cove Island definitely have that dark twist, but it's different from your signature One of Us is Lying series because it centers around a family. What inspired you to step outside of your traditional YA mystery series to create The Cousins?"
It was the idea that inspired me. I got the idea when I was reading an article about the Kennedy grandchildren, all of whom are doing, or many of whom at least, are doing really interesting things. And I started thinking, what would it be like to have a name, a family name that is so well known? And then I thought, what would it be like to have a name like that and sort of lose that legacy? And that's where the idea of the story family came from. The parents were on this path of great wealth and privilege, and then they were suddenly cut off. And so then, of course, the next natural question is, well, what would happen if you got invited back into this family? What would be the reason for it, and how would you react? And so the idea was always very family centric. And so it made sense to me that not only would it focus on this story clan, but also the setting would be outside of a high school setting, because a high school setting would be distracting. The cousins need to get to know one another. They need to be separate from their usual lives, and they need to be someplace where everybody knows them, or at least knows who they are, but they don't know anybody, because all of that helps feed into the story.
Now, The Cousins centers around, as you said, three characters, Millie, Aubrey, and Jonah. How did you get into their heads and bring a distinct voice to each one of the narrators while holding on to the heart-pounding twists and turns this novel delivers? Because every page there seems to be a secret twist revealed.
Well, I always start once I have a concept, and it's usually only a sentence, like, a disinherited family gets back together. Then I start thinking about the characters, and I spend a lot of time on the characters. I do sort of in-depth worksheets for them, everything from their favorite food to, more importantly, like, what do they want? What do they need? Are those things different? They probably are. What are they afraid of? Because all of that will inform their arc. And then I try to treat the group dynamic between the point of view characters as another character, because if they don't have the appropriate chemistry with one another, it's not going to work. So I spend a lot of time thinking about how they're going to relate to one another, both in a positive and a negative way. And then once I feel like I have all of that down, I will usually do some writing playlists, with songs for each character to help me get into their head. And at that point, I start actually writing the plot. So I do a lot of character work first to make sure that I really know who these people are.
Now, do you spend months on the character work to get to know the characters?
No, because I'm a fast writer. I just do things quickly. For me, spending a lot of time on something is spending 2 weeks on it. So I spend 2 weeks on it, about thereabouts. And then I might spend another 2 weeks outlining. And then I probably spend, it kind of depends on how it's going, but I can finish a book in about 2 months after that upfront work is done. So when everything's going the way it should, it's about a 3-month process.
Yeah. Well, the whodunit mystery in this book, in my opinion, is one of the best twists I've read all year. Did you know who the villain was going to be before, during, or after writing it?
For this one, I did. I say sometimes that I have 2 kinds of ideas, and one is a bolt of lightning, where it all comes to me at once and I just have to get it down. And one is a seedling, where it's like a little kernel of an idea, but it's not quite there yet, and I need to spend more time on it. So one of us is lying, and the cousins were bolt of lightning ideas. I always knew from the very beginning how it was going to end. 2 Can Keep a Secret is a great example of a seedling idea, where I actually changed the whodunit twice before I finally got to one that made me happy. But this one, I always knew. And this was a pretty fast writing process overall.
Is Gull Cove Island, where a majority of the cousins takes place, based on Gull Island, Massachusetts? If so, that island is uninhabitable. So how did you come up with the elusive grandmother Mildred's Catmint house? Is it based on a real estate?
No, it's not. It's unrelated. I'm familiar with Gull Island, but Gull Cove Island is made up. It is meant to be an island very similar to Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket. In fact, I reference those in the book. It's sort of the third made up, obviously, the less attractive, more remote, island. I grew up going to those islands as a kid, and I've always been interested in them. And for this particular book, knowing that it was a contained setting and I had to spend a lot of time there, I wanted to make sure that it was personally compelling for me. And it was the kind of setting that I would like to write. So that was a big part of the impetus behind the setting. But Catmint House, it's just made up. I went to Nantucket on just a research trip to kind of immerse myself in the memories of what it's like to approach the island and what it's like to be there. And I saw some houses that were sort of perched at the edge of the sea, and they got my imagination flowing. But Catmint House is very dramatic, so it's very much made up. It's sort of that perfect setting for nefarious family happenings.
What message is it that you want readers to take away from the cousins?
So, first and foremost, I hope that they enjoy reading it. I think this has been a really tough year. And if you can escape for a little while in some soapy family intrigue, I think that's great. But there is a deeper message to the book. There's a theme running through it about privilege. And in particular, you see the different generations of the Story family. And when this very prominent family first started to earn its fortune, it was, pretty altruistic family. And they had a lot of connection with their community. And that was lost over time. And I think what you find with the second generation of stories is that, privilege without empathy can be very dangerous. And for this family in particular, something like the motto of family first becomes really more of a threat than anything. And that's what the younger cousins who were not raised with this privilege and who are fish out of water when they get to this island, they bring a different perspective to their family and what it means to be a story.
Now, did you have a favorite character in The Cousins?
I can never pick a favorite because they're all like my kids. But I will say at this point I have written, mind you, I'm working on my 6th book now. So that also has point of view characters. And I can't even count how many there are. But it's something like 19 characters I've written over 6 books. And that's a lot of people. So I tend to have an appreciation for characters who have really clear, strong voices from the beginning because they make my job easier. And there's always one character who's just clear as a bell. And it doesn't take that much time for me to figure out their motivations and what they sound like. And in The Cousins, that was Millie. So Millie gets like the gold trophy just for being the easiest character to write.
You heard Karen talk all things The Cousins. Stay tuned because when we return, we're going to find out how Karen crafts her phenomenal YA whodunit mysteries. Welcome back to Book Hour. I'm your host, Carly Rae, here with New York Times bestselling author Karen McManus. Now, Karen, you have a true knack for writing YA mystery novels, but your road to getting where you are wasn't always easy. In one of your tweets on Twitter, you said in 2015 Pitch Wars, you didn't get a single manuscript request. Instead of revising your Pitch Wars manuscript, you shelved it and wrote One of Us is Lying. Tell us more about your writing journey.
Yeah, so I didn't start writing until I guess it was right around 2014. And when I was a kid, I used to write all the time, all through elementary school, up to high school. And then it got hard to finish things. And also I had different interests at the time. So I just sort of put that aside and thought, well, that was a thing I did as a kid, but I don't do it anymore. And I honestly didn't think about it for a really long time. I had a totally different job. I was working in marketing and I was actually on a business trip and I had nothing to read. So I went into the airport bookstore and I grabbed The Hunger Games. And I got obsessed with that book, just obsessed with it. And for the first time in a really long time, I wanted to create something. I felt very inspired to write. And so I sat down and I wrote what was basically like bad Hunger Games fan fiction. It was not good, but it was so fun. I loved the process. And I also got to meet some other writers through social media, started exchanging work. Giving and getting critique is so important to improving as a writer. So I wrote a second book, which was better, but still objectively not great. And One of Us is Lying was the third book that I wrote. So that was the book that got me an agent and got me a book deal. And all of that happened fairly quickly with that book, but it did take 2 full books to get there.
Yeah. Now, do you ever get writer's block when crafting your intricate novels?
Yes. Yeah, sure. Everybody does. I just had it, actually, I would say at the very beginning of lockdown. Probably, not surprisingly, I feel like we all had a real adjustment at that point. And when I have writer's block, it's not that I can't write, it's that the words are wrong. And I just know it. They feel wrong. And so I always know I have to take a step back. I have to clear my head. I have to brainstorm with my critique partners, with my agent. Sometimes I read a lot. I look at art. I take walks. And then I keep going back to the page and I keep trying to figure out what's wrong. And a lot of times it goes back to the characters. In fact, that's what just happened with my 6th book, which wasn't gelling the way I wanted it to at the midpoint. And I tried all kinds of different things. And at a certain point, I just realized the characters are wrong. And I created completely new characters. So it's a lot of trying stuff and figuring things out and just pushing through it. But sometimes it takes a while. Some books come faster than others, for sure. The Cousins came super fast, but they're not all like that. I wish they were.
One thing I'm curious about is if you always wrote YA mystery novels and if that is a genre you're always going to stick to.
My first 2 books were not YA mystery, the ones that are unpublished when I first started writing again, because I was inspired by The Hunger Games. It was much more sort of dystopian, contemporary type thing. So sometimes I say the genre chose me because it was the idea I got that happened to resonate with my agent and with my editor. But as it turns out, I really love to write them too. And I have a lifetime of mystery reading that helped me figure out what kind of things might, surprise a reader or make a reader keep flipping pages. So I don't know that, I wouldn't try something new at some point, but for right now, I've been really happy with the YA mystery genre. And that's where I see myself continuing for at least the next couple books.
Now, what about multiple characters' perspectives? Are you always going to do that?
Again, I would never say never, but I really love multiple point of view. I like it a lot for several reasons. For one thing, it's just interesting to me to have an ensemble cast because you get to look at your situation from all these different perspectives, which I personally find enjoyable. But also, I think for readers, there's more opportunity to find somebody that you connect with when you have a bigger cast. And in the mystery in particular, I think it's a really fun tool for building suspense because you can take your reader kind of right at the edge of discovery with one character and then, oh, time to switch. Sorry, you don't get to learn after all what's that little part of the mystery. And we just keep that going for like 300 pages and drive my readers crazy.
Now, if you could give one piece of advice to aspiring authors, what would it be?
I always tell people to find critique partners who are at the same stage of the writing journey as you. So, typically if you're just starting out, that's an unpublished writer, unagented, trying to figure things out. That was a game changer for me. So that's probably the first thing. The other thing I tell people is, don't self-reject. Because that's definitely what I did in high school. I decided, and I didn't even submit my work anywhere. Nobody rejected me. I rejected myself. I decided I wasn't good enough to finish a book and I just wasn't going to do it. Let somebody else tell you no. And then don't get discouraged when they do, because there's lots of rejection in publishing, and being rejected is not a failure. It's just a step.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. Stay tuned because when we come back, it is game time.
Thank you for choosing Three Brothers Wineries. I'm Erica Policelli. I'm one of the partners here at the winery, and I want to tell you a little bit more about our estate. We were founded in 2006 by Dave and Luann Mansfield. We have 40 acres of grapevines, a fully operational farm. All of the wines you're tasting today are from our farm. We have 2 female winemakers, Kim Marconi and Paige Vinson. On our campus, we actually have 3 wineries and a microbrewery. We have an extensive portfolio of not only wine, but also beer, hard cider, wine spritzers, and wine slushy, all manufactured here on site. When we opened our doors in 2007, we had a modest staff of 10. We've grown to employ 40 full-time and 100 part-time employees. We pride ourselves on creativity, innovation, and our company culture. When you make a purchase from Three Brothers Wineries or Warhorse Brewing, you're supporting a majority women-owned small business, and we thank you for that.
Welcome back to Book Hour. It is game time. Karen, the first game we're going to play is Table Topics. I'm going to ask you hypothetical questions from Conversation Starter World, and you're going to answer them.
All right.
All right. The first question is, if you could choose a nickname and have people call you it with complete seriousness, no matter how ridiculous, what nickname would you want?
Oh, wow. The Queen. Why not? Let's just put a crown on.
We'll call you the Queen of YA Whodunit Mysteries.
There we go. The Queen of Mystery Thrillers. That's what I want.
Number 2, if you could choose any vehicle to drive around for a couple of hours in, what vehicle would you choose?
Oh, one of those cute little Vespa, like motorbikes, which I do not know how to ride, so it would have to come with lessons, but they look really fun and charming. Something like mint green maybe, or
there we go.
Powder blue. Yeah.
Number 3, if you could choose anyone in the world to become friends with, who would you choose?
Oh man, I was just reading a profile about Margaret Atwood, and she seems really cool. So I would like to be friends with her.
There we go.
Call me Margaret.
If you're watching this. Number 4, what do you wish grew on trees?
Oh, what do I wish grew on trees? books. That would be fun. Or, if we're thinking more like food variety, I would like a chocolate covered pretzel tree right outside my door.
There you go. So when you have writer's block, you can just reach out there and grab one.
Exactly. It would be so convenient.
And then the last one is, if you won the lottery, what would you not change?
God, there's not a lot I would change. I feel like I actually did win the lottery just in terms of like my job. I mean, 6 years ago, I would have told you I'm out of here, with whatever job that was. And the job was fine, but I would have liked to be writing books, and here I am. So I wouldn't change that. I don't think I'd change my house. I'd probably like change this room a little bit, but that's about it.
Well, that concludes table topics. Now we're going to see if Karen is smarter than a fifth grader.
No, I can already tell you I am not.
All right. The first question is, the main series of events in a story is called what?
The plot?
Yes. Ding, ding, ding.
Yay. Shouldn't have been that hard.
All right. The second one, how many continents are there?
7.
Yes. Ding, ding, ding. All right. The third one, to travel from New York to London, one must fly over which ocean?
Atlantic.
Yes. Ding, ding, ding. All right. What is the primary difference between ocean water and tap water?
Salt?
Yes. All right. Your last and final one. A story conveying a moral lesson is called what?
A fable?
Yes.
I got them all right. Yay.
So you're much smarter than a fifth grader. Well, that concludes Game Time. Karen, I want to thank you for being on Book Hour and joining us today. Before you go, tell viewers if you're writing more books or if there is a certain series that will be on TV.
Yes to both. So for anyone who doesn't know, One of Us is Lying has been picked up as a series on streaming on Peacock, which is NBC Universal's new streamer. And we don't know the release date yet. I think the earliest would be next fall, but the writers are working on episodes and the cast is set. So that's all really exciting. And I am working on more books. My 5th book is called You'll Be the Death of Me. It's going to be coming out sometime in fall 2021. And it is my young adult murder mystery meets Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
And these are all new characters?
All new characters, another 3 in this one.
If viewers want to follow you on social media, where can they find you?
I am at WriterKMC on both Twitter and Instagram.
You heard Karen. Go check her out now. All of her social media handles are in the description below. Karen, thank you for being on Book Hour. And for those watching, I hope you have a great day.
Thanks so much for having me. Bye.